Hello folks, good to be here. As Jenny mentioned, I'm the news editor with Storyful, where I've worked for almost 5 years now. And what I'm going to talk about is the first steps you need to take to find original video content as a story emerges. So what do you do in that first 5-10 minutes? As a story breaks, what are the steps we need to take as a team to find that content? I'm going to start with a rundown of organization of your team. So when a story breaks, it can be very easy to kind of lose the run of what's going on. You know, panic can ensue. Something like Brussels happens, it's the biggest story in the world, you got to cover it, but you also need to be organized and you need to be ready and have all your players in the right slots to ensure that you're covering the story as best as you can. So where possible, you need to delegate responsibilities to your team. At Storyful, and obviously at Storyful is a somewhat unique case, but we assign specific platforms to specific journalists. For example, for a 3-person team, let's take a 3-person team, we have the lead person, in other words, the editor on shift. We have the lead person on Twitter or TWEETDECK. We have one person on Facebook, Instagram, and I'll cover why one person is doing that shortly. And we have one person on YouTube, Reddit, and local live blogs. The last thing you want to do is, with a small team, get into a situation where 2 journalists or 2 or more journalists are looking at the same video, doing the same work. Before you know it, you've lost 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you're behind, you've missed out on other great content, and it can very easily happen in a breaking news situation. So have a process in place that you know what slot you're going to fit into when a news story breaks. Breaking news confusion spreads quickly, so ensure you organize your team roles quickly. Better to have them pre-arranged before a story breaks, and regroup regularly. I think at New York Times you guys use Slack to communicate. At Storyful we also use Slack, but we use it in conjunction with Google Hangouts. So we have a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week Google Hangout. All journalists who are on shift at Storyful, and obviously we have a small team, all journalists who are on shift are on that Hangout, and if we need to communicate urgently something that's happening, very easy to get a voice communication going with our team in New York, Hong Kong, Sydney, Atlanta, wherever they may be. But using it in conjunction with Slack enables you to respond very, very quickly to issues as they emerge. So first of all, Twitter lists, absolute basic, but very, very important. If you do not have access to a Twitter list relevant to the event as a story breaks, you need to find or make one quickly. Ideally, you need to make one. You need to continuously add sources to the list as they emerge, and you need to identify the official sources. Very easy to add plenty of sources to a list, but unless you have the official sources that are putting out information you can use to inform your reporting, in other words, police, ministries, political figures, you're going to be lost in a kind of a maze of misinformation. So most news organizations have access to lists, but sometimes news breaks in an area infrequently covered. For example, something might happen in Mali. You don't necessarily have a list of people there. But if you want to find a list very quickly, a good little tip is to open a prominent local account. And the example I have here on the right is Ryan Heath, who's based in Brussels for Politico. Open his account, add /memberships to the URL, and you get a list of lists that person is on. You can very, very quickly scroll through, find the Brussels list that he's on, take all the members of that list and put it on your own list, go through it. And it's just a very, very quick tip to find a relevant and useful list in the initial stages of a breaking news story. Again, I stress, always better to create your own list, as you have then control over that list. You can add, you can remove people from it as merited. But if you don't have time to do that, that's a good tip to follow. So TWEETDECK is a tool that most journalists, or many journalists who work in social media, use these days. But there's a couple of things you need to do in the immediate 5-10 minutes after a breaking news story emerges. And what you need to do is set up searches for, let's say you're looking for video content. It's a very simple process to set up your TWEETDECK to search for related video content that matches specific keywords or geolocations. So what you're looking for is a related vocabulary. So if it's something happening in, let's take the Brussels attacks, you want Mailback metro station, for example, you're going to put Mailback in as a keyword. You want hashtags, you want place names multilingual, so if it's in the Arabic speaking world, you're going to use Arabic place names, obviously. You want the names of people involved, the significant figures that you're waiting for a video to emerge of. And you can also add geolocation into. Just a very simple example. We'll try this one. Is for the Shenandoah National Park wildfires, you can create a column in TWEETDECK using these keywords, in quotation marks, Rocky Mount fire, capital OR, has to be capitalized OR or else this won't work. quotation marks, Rocky Mount Fire, or Shenandoah, etc., etc. You can then filter that for just video. So you're only interested in video. Very simple to do so. If you create your search string, go to the top, say showing tweets with videos, immediately you've got a live stream of video content coming through that you can check it out. Claire's going to talk a lot more about how to verify that, but now you have a live stream of video content emerging right in front of you. As I mentioned, you can filter for tweets with videos. If you want images, you can filter by tweets with images. If you want periscopes, if you want live broadcasts from the scene, you can filter tweets with periscopes. So it's really, really flexible, very, very simple to set up. And what you need to do is, as I mentioned, one person is looking at Twitter. So use this in conjunction with your curated Twitter lists. So you're going to have 2 or 3 columns. You'll have your curated Twitter list. You'll have your search column that's throwing up tweets with videos, and perhaps another search column that has tweets with images or tweets with periscopes, whatever you need. Facebook, still by some margin the most popular network and has to be monitored in breaking news situations. First thing I'd mention, native Facebook search is not very powerful. I would really recommend that people use signal.fb.com, which is a new tool launched by Facebook to help a relatively new tool launched by Facebook specifically for journalists. And what signal.fb.com has is streams via Storyful and CrowdTangle, which surface the best content that's emerging. It's original content. You can check it out. You can reach out to the uploader, contact them, open a line of dialogue. It also has a very useful search function for both Facebook and Instagram. So it has everything you need in one screen. It's a one-stop shop for Facebook and Instagram content. And as I mentioned, you get your streams of content via Storyful and CrowdTangle too. So everything you need from Facebook and Instagram in this one place. You have to apply for membership, so I really strongly recommend you do that. But if for whatever reason you don't have access to Signal, using native search, simple thing, filter by latest, keep that tab open and leave it perpetually update. So you're setting up processes in this first 5-10 minutes, so you have streams of content coming through that you can check into every so often. Another couple of tips that some people are not aware of. If using place names, and this is particularly true in the Middle East, filter by pages. So let's say there's a town in Syria that there's been an attack there or something like that. Get the local place name in Arabic, pop it into Facebook, filter by pages, and what you'll see is local and community activists who are based in that town. You're getting original content from a community page based in the town. You can check out the account history, but it's a very handy tip to find, as I mentioned, specifically Middle East related content. Another little tip is, and this is particularly useful for US content, let's say there's a tornado in Oklahoma or something like that, go to a local newsroom's Facebook page, so the local ABC affiliate, check the visitor post section which appears on the left hand side, click in there, and here you can see content that's being shared directly with that newsroom through Facebook by people who live in the area. Local residents are going to have a connection with their local newsroom. They're going to be sending those guys stuff exclusively. It doesn't appear in searches, so this is the only way to see it. So go to the local newsroom's Facebook page, check the visitor post section, and you've got another stream of original content that you can reach out on. So Instagram. Instagram, in terms of quality, not the best in terms of quality, and certainly the aspect ratio isn't particularly good either, but it's very, very useful in the early stages of a breaking news event as it's updated on the fly. The app is very easy to use. People tend to use it more commonly than Facebook, Twitter, etc. And geo-metadata is very common, or reasonably common on Instagram, so it's easier to verify this stuff. Again, use Facebook Signal to search Instagram. This is your one-stop shop for Facebook and Instagram, so the person who's assigned, for example, to Facebook and Instagram is going to be using Signal. And again, you have your curated streams and you have your Instagram search function. If you don't have Signal, you can use GramFeed, where you can very easily search for geo-coordinates. So you see in the bottom right here, I have a string of geo-coordinates inputted. This is over Shenandoah National Park, and every tweet that's geotagged within that area is fed into this stream of content on the right-hand side. If I want to filter it down and just see the video, I press V. If I want to just see photos, I press P. So YouTube. It's less popular certainly than the other platforms at this stage, but it's higher quality video. It tends to be, if drone footage, for example, emerges from a specific area, it's often shared on YouTube. It's often high definition video, so really, really good quality. But if you're using YouTube native search, what you want to do is use local keywords, and you want to filter by upload date. You see it on the bottom right there, filters, and upload date is highlighted. That gives you, again, you're building a stream of updating content that you can check in every so often, see what's emerging, see what's being posted to YouTube. And that's the way you have to approach it. You're building streams in that first 5-10 minutes, building a stream on Facebook so you can see the latest stuff emerging, building a stream through TWEETDECK so you can see the latest content emerging, and again, building a stream on YouTube so you can see the latest content. That way you'll always be early to the content as it emerges. I recommend using Montage, which is a new tool that we've launched in conjunction with Google. It's free to use for anyone, so it's good for 2 reasons. One, there's better search functionality on Montage. You can filter by dates more easily, and you can also collaborate on verification with colleagues or even people outside your news organization. So you see a particular YouTube video that you can't nail down the date, you're not sure about it, you have question marks about it. You can, through Montage, create a project, invite a series of collaborators, you can all discuss it, you can mark out specific events that happen in the video, specific landmarks in the video and add comments to them, things like that. So it's a nice, easy way to collaborate and verification in real time. And also follow YouTube Newswire at YT Newswire on Twitter, youtube.com/newswire. Again, this is a Storyful curated stream of content, but what we're sharing on YouTube Newswire is all original content from uploaders. So if you go to YouTube Newswire, check it out. What you're seeing there is original content verified by Storyful, and it's an easy way to find YouTube content in real time. Finally, Reddit and live blogs. So often people are searching Twitter, they're searching Facebook, Instagram, and so on. Not regularly are people thinking kind of, I suppose, outside the box, things that are happening off social media platforms. But Reddit and local live blogs in particular are becoming an increasingly important thing to monitor in breaking news situations. I have an example here of the Le Soir live blog during the Brussels attacks. What you find again, and similar to the visitor post thing I mentioned earlier, that local people tend to share their content with the news organizations they know and trust. So the Le Soir live blog was putting up original content that wasn't appearing anywhere else. They were crediting it to its owners, but then Storyful was able to track back, find these people on social media, reach out to them, obtain the videos that way. So it's another stream of content again that you're monitoring, trying to find videos very, very quickly. As I mentioned, videos frequently sent directly to local media and then shared on the live blog. So it's not being shared on Twitter, it's not being shared on Facebook, it's being shared directly with organizations and then posted on their live blogs. And what we often see now, in fact almost all the time now, for a big breaking news story, you get mega threads on Reddit. Now, everything that is said on Reddit obviously has to be taken with a pinch of salt, but it's a very, very useful thing to monitor for early tip-offs on things that are happening. You also have people posting directly to these Reddit mega threads content they've taken themselves. So another platform on which you can monitor, see content emerge, and chase it down if you're interested. Again, unverified information, but potentially useful tips, and often links back to original content. And needless to say, be extra vigilant with information shared on Reddit. There has been occasions, and I think one of the most famous cases was the Boston Marathon bombing, where people tried to crowdsource, who is the suspect, find out who the guy who carried out these bombings was. So a crowdsourcing megathreads happened on Reddit, and they identified the wrong person. And some news organizations ran with that. So you have to be vigilant, particularly with names and identities as they're being shared. Just a couple of other free tools that I think are worth mentioning. Feedly, Storyful, it's basically an RSS reader, but what we've done at Storyful is we've gone back through our entire archive of contents back to when we founded the Storyful in 2011, and we've categorized all those YouTube channels into folders related to country. So I can go into Feedly, if something happens in Afghanistan, I go into my Feedly, click on the Afghanistan folder, and I have a list of channels that we have verified from in the past that we're familiar with. We have contact details, and I can reach out and get the content if I need it. As you can see up here in the top right, we have a folder related to Decision 2016, the presidential election. So people who are traveling around following candidates on the campaign trail. Very easy to click in, check it out, see if there's something there that we want to use, and reach out to the uploader. Storyful Multi-Search, free Chrome extension, very simple, but what it allows is the searching of multiple platforms at the click of a button. So you want to search, for example, Facebook and Instagram at the same time. You type in your keyword into Storyful multi-search, select Instagram, select Facebook, click search. It searches both platforms without needing you to go from one tab to the next. Just a little bit of a time saver, saves you maybe 5-10 minutes in a shift. Finally, Banjo, which is a paid-for service at the premium level, but there's also a very useful free service at banjo/trending. And again, you're talking about original content that's being shared at the ground, and almost all of that content is geolocated. So they're just some simple free tools that you can use to kind of discover content in real time. So Craig is going to talk a lot more about debunks and hoaxes and fake content and all that, but a couple of things I did want to note, particularly about breaking news. So you've set up your processes, you've got your TWEETDECK searches running, you've got your YouTube searches running, you have journalists assigned to specific roles, you all know what you're doing, but you have to be extra vigilant these days, because inevitably in any breaking news situation, within the first 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to see fake content being shared. Most commonly, it's old content being shared as new, and that's what we saw in the Brussels attacks. Very early on, there was CCTV footage shared purporting to show the blast go off in the metro station. It was a simple process to debunk it, but people were so eager to get the best content and share it and get it out there that it was distributed by big news organizations. The footage that was actually shared was from Minsk in 2011 and caught a lot of people out, because people are eager to be first to a great piece of footage. They want to share it. They see it being shared all over social media and think, let's go. But you have to be extra vigilant. Major news organizations consistently caught out. I'm not going to go into specific details, but serious errors have been made by major news organizations in every major breaking news story over the past 12 months and further back still. Brussels attacks, and I think Claire is going to mention some of the examples from Brussels attacks later on. The Paris attacks and the Umpqua College shootings. The Umpqua College shootings was a particularly egregious error in which a major news organization misidentified the shooter live on air for a period of about 2 hours. You're not just talking about embarrassment, you're talking about potential legal ramifications for you there, so you have to be very, very careful. And again, particularly careful with names and identities as they're shared. Brussels attacks was a perfect example of that, where there were so many identities and names being shared in real time by local journalists, local news organizations. A lot of them didn't match up to what was really going on. As I mentioned, the next presentation from Claire is going to deal with how to verify this content you're finding in real time. But think of this more as a checklist. What are the steps I need to take in that first 5-10 minutes? What are the things I need to set up in that first 5-10 minutes of a breaking news story to ensure that I'm getting all the content I need and I'm seeing all the content that's emerging very, very quickly? The next step then, of course, is to verify it. So contacting eyewitnesses. Look, breaking news situations can be very, very sensitive, and it is a bit of a minefield out there when you're dealing with these eyewitnesses who are sharing content on Twitter, Facebook, and elsewhere. There's a very handy set of guidelines from Eyewitness Media Hub here on the right, but I'm just going to mention a couple of principles that I think are worth raising. Obviously, be mindful of how you approach witnesses, but I think it's always good policy to take conversations off public platforms if at all possible. Twitter DMs, find the person on Facebook and message them on Facebook, find an email address and email them. Best of all, find a phone number and pick up the phone and call them. If you are picking up the phone and calling them, be wary of translation issues. If speaking to eyewitnesses for whom English is not a first language, it's very, very easy for things to be lost in translation. All of a sudden, without intending to, you've insulted someone or you've made them feel uncomfortable. A good policy to have is to have a list of people in your organization who speak specific languages. So if you need someone to pick up the phone and call someone in France, for example, you have a French speaker that you can reach out to very quickly and ask for help to do that. I would finally say mistakes can be made and probably will be made. There are going to be times where you reach out to an uploader and they don't react very well to your communication. Always be transparent, I would say, about what you're looking for. I work for the New York Times and I need to use this on our website with a courtesy to you. Be sensitive, don't say, hi, that's great, your images are great, can you take some video, as some people say in breaking news situations. Be mindful of ownership. Every piece of content shared online is copyrighted. The copyright lies with the person who captured that piece of footage or that image. And finally, if you do cause upset unintentionally, and again, emphasize, take this off public platforms, just put your hands up and apologize to that eyewitness and say, look, I didn't intend to cause upset. We're going to leave you be. If you change your mind, you can come back to us at any time. Most people are reasonable, and if you apologize and if you hold your hands up, they're going to be reasonably okay with that. And you have to understand, for a particularly high-value piece of content, these guys are getting probably hundreds of emails, maybe even hundreds of phone calls, thousands of tweets, and it can be very overwhelming for someone who's caught in the wrong place at the right time, I suppose. So that is it from me. I suppose the last point I would say, think of this as like a checklist of the steps you need to take in a breaking news situation. So the things you need to do: you need to set up your Twitter list, you need to set up your TWEETDECK searches, you need to set up your YouTube streams, you need to set up your Facebook streams, and you need to have people assigned to specific roles so that you're not stepping on someone else's toes. If you do that, you're going to get all the content that emerges very, very quickly, and chances are you'll be ahead of the game. So that's it. Thanks very much.